Hey everybody, David Costello here, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow and host of Growing Your Firm podcast. Today we have a really special episode, and I was telling him right before the interview, I said, hey, this is a bit of a different episode because, we really talk to people like accounting firm owners in the trenches or talking about value-based pricing or what have you. But today's guest is Yoseph West, and he is taking on business banking. And I thought, wow, hey, this is a huge topic. Our accountants need to know about this because I think this is really an important trend we need to know about. So he is the co-founder and CEO of Relay Financial. Before that, he was at a company called Hubdoc. He was the head of marketing there before they got acquired by Xero. Before that, he was director of product engagement at Wave. And before that, he was at Vuru, which got acquired by Wave Accounting. So, if you're just in love with like financial accounting technology, is that right?
I think that's the only way to put it. I mean, I might emotionally disagree, but I can't, you look at the tape, you got to look at the tape and it's all there. And my deep, undying love, it continues.
Yeah, and so how did you go? So as a side note, so you were in law school, graduated, and then went straight into like financial tech. So really
Yeah.
quick, like what was the head fake that went from law school to hey, accounting technology?
Yeah. So I think, finance and understanding, how to how to grow wealth, right? It's like you grow up kind of like middle class, maybe kind of in that range, and you see friends who have more than you, to be perfectly honest, and you're like, that seems really cool. I kind of want to learn how to do that. So there's always been like an interest in finances and financial technology as it was. And then, the law school thing, like my mom's Persian. So, there are two potential paths you can take in life. You can become a doctor, you can become a lawyer. So that's really what explains that. And then I was just looking, I was looking for an out because I didn't think it was, for me, it wasn't that exciting for me. I know lots of lawyers that perhaps enjoy it, but that wasn't the path. And so I'd been kind of throwing around some ideas with some friends and trying to figure out like, hey, could we start something together? What would that look like? And so we decided to start what became Vuru, which was like a retail stock analysis platform. You plugged in a stock ticker, we pumped out stock reports, managed somehow to, as a two-person team, to get that to like 70,000 users, and convinced Wave to like acquire us for some God knows reason. Well, there were good reasons, but
Well,
that was kind of the
70,000
start.
users might be part of the reason.
Yeah.
Was it for that case where I mean, were you an early player in these like were you discovered in platforms in Intuit or Zero, or like how were those 70,000 initially acquired?
So you won't even believe me when I tell you. So it was actually, have you ever been on the Chrome Web Store?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that
huge.
was huge. Yeah, like no one know, like to be honest, that's amazing that you know, because like I think most people don't know, and that was like how we acquired users. We went from like 200 users a month to like 5,000 a month that were signing up purely because we somehow worked our way up the tiers to be in the like premium kind of level alongside like Mint and Google Finance and all that stuff.
I see. So if they were searching for finance apps, you guys were coming up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice. And that's a nice moat, right? So when Wave comes in and looks to acquire you, they, part of the asset they're getting is that competitive advantage. It's like being ranked first in a search engine of sorts, being,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Like the main reason for them, bringing us on board was to build out their personal finance product. Wave is very much focused on like the micro SMB, and there's often a deep link between someone's personal finances and business finances in those cases. So that was really what they acquired us to come in and do, is to build out that personal and more consumer focused application.
cool. And then you went on, you were working at Hubdoc, which I think a lot of our listeners are familiar with. And I know that because when they email me, they have that nice little badge that says they're like Hubdoc certified. So I know you all are Hubdoc certified, and I'm sure you were part of that adventure of getting everybody a badge as well. To fast forward a little bit, why Relay, right? Like what did you see in the
Yeah.
world to start saying, hey, what would be fun? Let's take on big banks. They don't have a lot of resources to come after me, so I'm going to go after them. So walk me through the genesis of Relay Financial. What's the opportunity you're seeing, and then we'll riff a little bit on just business banking overall.
Yeah, sounds great. So, at Hubdoc, it was like we built a central repository for small business financial documents. The promise was everything in one place automatically: bank statements, receipts, invoices, extract the data, push into the accounting system, help deliver real-time financials. And, you know, I was there for like 4.5 years or so. Uh, for the first 3 years, what we really sold was like bank statement fetching. That was like our core value prop. We built web scrapers that would go and download bank statement PDFs. And that was really what accounting and bookkeeping firms paid us for, right? We scaled to tens of thousands of small business clients just by selling that. It was crazy. And so what became really clear for us was that there was a huge pain point around access to banking data, and that being a limiting factor for small business financial visibility. It was a pain point just in terms of downloading like statement PDFs, and it was also a pain point in terms of actually like bank feeds in the accounting system. So, you look at Intuit, you look at Xero, their number one product priority is not like, necessarily better cash flow reporting. It's like bank feeds that work. That's the big thing. And so to us, from that experience, it was really clear that access to financial data was a big limiting factor for small business owners. And then once you get the data in, the quality of that data is quite poor typically. And so what if you could deliver a bank that actually like had the core principles of like easy access and high quality information? Could you increase financial visibility for small business owners? Because like at the end of the day, every small business owner, even if you're working with an accountant or bookkeeper, you're not logging into QBO or Xero to figure out how much money you have or what your financial position is. You're looking at your bank account, you're looking at your bank balance, right? And oftentimes with traditional banks, and this is kind of the challenge with them, is their data is very siloed. So you might have 20 grand in your bank account, but you have another $10,000 in bills to pay this month, but you can't see that from your bank. And so the thought is like every part of the financial back office, the small business back office has changed over the last 5 years, except for one, which is really the nerve center, which is the small business like bank account. And so what if you could build a bank that actually interconnected into the key systems? Could you deliver better financial visibility? And so that's our bet. It's that what if you could build a connected bank that had actually collaborative features, and would that deliver more value for small business owners and the advisors they work with?
Yeah, got it. And so when you're building out your own kind of bank, this virtual bank, are you building your own accounting platform inside of it, or do you still plan, like as a primary objective to interface with QuickBooks Online at Xero?
It absolutely is the primary objective. So not only are we one of 15 banks in the US that actually has a direct bank feed into QBO and Xero, so alongside Wells Fargo, Capital One, PayPal, but we're also actually the first bank in the world to integrate into those accounting platforms to pull in unpaid bills and help automate payables. So we see it very much as like a symbiotic relationship between the accounting platform and banking, because if those two are working together really well, financial visibility becomes a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah. And what's your take on, so Intuit was it about in the last, 12, 24 months, they released this loan program, maybe it's longer than that. It feels like those outside of banking are starting to say, hey, I kind of like parts of banking. We like delivering loans. H&R Block acquires Wave, and then I think they have a banking product of sorts. Intuit's been into loans. So how do you take a look at the Intuits of the world? Are they going to come in and try to compete with Relay? How do you look at, or H&R Block and Wave? Like, how do you look at these, the landscape?
Yeah, pardon me. So 100% expect them to launch some type of functionality around this, right? Like, why wouldn't they? They're a large organization. They can afford to hire the people, and they could do, a decent job around it. Like, big respect for Intuit, and any of those organizations. The analog that I think about is, QuickBooks Payroll versus Gusto, right? QuickBooks Payroll has been around for eons, and yet Gusto has been able to get to the scale that it has by focusing and delivering a strong solution around payroll and HR. And they're just, because they're a team entirely focused on that, they're going to be able to go deeper and deliver more value than what someone is going to be able to get with a platform solution. And that's just the name of the game. And so our core risk as a business is like, can we go deep enough? Can we deliver enough value to like embed ourselves in key workflows for the small business and save them time? Because if we can't, then the Intuits of the world will come along and eat our lunch. The Waves of the world will come along and eat our lunch. But that was kind of, from day one, that was our view. It's like they're going to come along with light banking products, and we're going to go deeper, and we're going to deliver collaborative banking. And we think about it as like banking for teams, right? And so we're going to be able to actually like have this very deep symbiotic relationship with the accounting system and deliver higher quality software that saves small business owners a ton of time. And so that's really where we're playing and delivering value.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, let's say Intuit tries to create almost exactly what you're doing and anybody else. But I mean, like, when I look at what you're building, you're going after traditional banks, and it's an insanely hard problem to take their old database, their siloed of information, try to transform it into something that you're building, right? Like, to me, that's the huge hurdle. That's who you're going after. So even if Intuit comes in, it's almost like you both are attacking the same, competitor here, which is the traditional business bank, the brick and mortars of the world.
100%. That's a really great point. 70% of the businesses that come to Relay have an existing financial institution, a Bank of America, Wells Fargo, their local credit union. And that is absolutely the core competitor, and you have to be delivering value above and beyond and get people to essentially like switch their bank accounts, which is definitely a bit of an art and a science. And so we can definitely talk about how we do that and how it's working.
Yeah, so I'm an accounting firm owner, and I'm probably going to be checking out Relay after this just to get. I mean, I think everybody listening should. You should see what's going on in this landscape, because I think I haven't seen really anybody approach business banking in the way you're doing it. So I think this is going to be a really hot topic over the next couple of years, because you're right, like collaborative banking, and I won't say who we bank with, right? But it is a nightmare to try to get other people into our system, and then it's a nightmare to try to connect our existing bank with other lending platforms, with other financing platforms. There's a middleware called Plaid, which the whole premise behind Plaid is, hey, we'll connect your banks to all these other different, pieces of information, and Visa bought Plaid for $4 billion, right? But the premise is you're saying you shouldn't need Plaid. You shouldn't need duct tape upon duct tape. You should just build it right from the get-go. But anyways, if an accounting firm owner is listening right now, why are business owners switching to Relay? Like, what is it? Is it, you said, automate the bills, automate the payables? Is that the initial reason people are seeking out Relay?
Yeah, let's step back a little bit and just kind of talk about what the like customer promise is, and then we can talk about the accounting bookkeeping firm side, and then we can talk about the small business side, just so we can lay it up. So the customer promise is like banking designed for growing businesses, or like business banking made easy. And so there are 3 bullets. One is you can actually collaborate with user permission, so accountants and bookkeepers get like a partner portal, which is pretty sweet. 2, yeah, you can manage all your bills, like we integrate into Xero and QBO, and like you get free ACH. It's like pretty awesome. And then 3 is you can manage all your business spending from your Relay account. So you can issue cards to employees, you can manage their access to your banking. And the way we do all of this, just to add this in, is we work with a bank called Evolve Bank and Trust out of Tennessee. They've been around since 1925. They have $500 million in assets, and it's through them that we're able to offer FDIC insured accounts. So that's like the customer promise. The reason accounting and bookkeeping firms love Relay, and their reaction every time we show them the product is like, holy crap, like how do I get all my clients on this thing? Is 3 reasons. One is we make access really easy. So they get their own partner portal, they can invite their staff, they can control their staff's level of access to their clients' accounts. So no more sharing bank logins, like none of that kind of
Oh my
grossness.
gosh, I know people do that. It's insane, and I know people do that.
Yeah, it's the number of notepads I've seen with people's bank login credentials on it. It's like crazy. It's the dirty secret of the accounting community, right? So access, huge issue. 2 is we have direct bank feeds into QBO and Xero. And all the data is actually like standardized and enriched. So it's super reliable. It's not based on web scrapers. It's all software to software. That's the second bullet. And then the third bullet is the quality of the data. So when you deposit a check through Relay, it doesn't come through on the bank feed as check 1, 2, 3, 4. It actually comes through with the payer's name, the amount, the date, any memo. If there's a card transaction, we actually standardize and enrich that information with category information. So there's a lot there where they're like, holy crap, this is awesome. This is going to save me so much time. And then the question they ask is like, okay, I get it. I see why this is valuable for me. Like, how do I position this to my clients, right? Like, how do I convince someone to switch banks? Because I think as a society, culturally, we're like, sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. Hopefully that can be edited out.
Man, this is the first time I'm going to have to edit any interview. I'm going to have to charge you for that one. I'm going to have a swear jar for you.
Perfect. I do need one. So they there's a concern around switching. And the way we communicate is like, treat, on the subject of swearing, treat the word switch like a four-letter word. Never say it, right?
Yeah.
In fact, in demos, I might say never, bleep, say it. Because the way you should position Relay is as a complement to your existing banking. Start with a core use case. Start with, some people use it for cash management because we actually have like audit trails baked into every transaction. Some people are like, okay, I can solve my AP automation challenges because you actually have approval workflows. You have this integration with the accounting system. I might use it to issue cards to my employees and my team. And so we see people start with one of these three use cases. And what happens is, it lowers the switching cost by saying, you don't have to get rid of your existing bank. You just have to try this out. And it's going to solve this problem that we both acknowledge that you have. And then, so you build trust with us. You see that it does what it says on the can. And then three is you realize that like all the technology Relay has kind of it makes Bank of America not a necessary component of your business back office. And so, you never formally switch, but organically you made the switch. And we can see that in the data that it comes across in terms of business transactions.
Yeah, I love it that it's an augment, not a replacement to an existing bank account.
Yeah.
So what's next for Relay? I mean, you kind of look at the next 12 months. What can you talk about on what you're excited about from a technology perspective or landscape perspective?
Yeah, so this integration, like being the first in the world to actually like integrate into the accounting system to pull in unpaid bills and have approval workflows, we are like super excited about this. Because one, it acts as like a bill.com replacement for many small business owners that do 20 to 30 bills a month. So like we're just seeing like a lot of traction there. Two, this is our first foray into actually having like core software or automation software on top of the bank account. And there have been benefits there that we didn't anticipate by it being like deeply integrated into the bank account. There's no need for like a clearing account or like any of that messiness because it all just works. It's really maybe this is my love of accounting tech. I hope I'm not boring people, but it just
Yoseph, you're
clicks.
talking
Yeah.
to accounting firm owners.
Good. I just wanted to share my own personal guilt and how I was judging myself. So, but yeah, like you don't have a clearing account, so it's all really neat and connected. So that stuff, really excited about it. The next things that we're thinking about are like, hey, how do we increase visibility around revenue, right? So like cash flow challenges that every small business owner runs into. One is like, okay, I don't know what bills I have to pay. I'm paying them by Venmo, PayPal, online bill pay, check. Stuff's coming out of my account. I don't really have control. So like solving for that around the AP automation. And then the next is like, okay, what money is actually coming in and do I understand what's happening inside my business? So there are integrations as well as kind of functionality that we're thinking about in terms of increasing that visibility to make the revenue reconciliation a lot smoother and save accountants and bookkeepers time.
I'll tell you what, you said revenue recognition, and I will say it's been a very interesting experience at Jetpack Workflow over the last 2 years, trying to get something that is not a cobbled mess of spreadsheets around revenue recognition. And there's a tool out here, listeners may or may not care about this, but there's a tool called Profitwell, and one of their value props is they'll do revenue recognition for SaaS companies. And it was very, very interesting in that when we had a software, their premise was they take it down to the minute. But when we had, our bookkeeper kind of do it, she would look at it, I think at, not the minute level. And so when we were trying to reconcile, like, okay, the bookkeeper does it this way, Profitwell does it this way, we're like, why are the numbers not the same? We had to dig and we dig and we dig and we go, oh, Profitwell goes down to like the minute, and there's no way a human being would do that. It'd be insane. But now there's going to be like a cognitive switch around like, well, that is technically more accurate and they could do it down to the minute. But I mean, we were trying to talk with Profitwell for a while to say like, this data is not, and they weren't even sure. They're like, I don't know why it doesn't sync up. And there's a whole, these, it's going to be very interesting what gets automated and then how it shifts our expectations of the timeliness of the data. Cause down to the minute, it's insane, right? Like that was what we eventually figured it out. It took like 2 weeks of talking with them and how they processed it and how they built it, everything like that. But anyways,
it's a huge challenge, right? Like, a company that I greatly respect is Stripe. And you look at the number of kicks at the can they've had around like building an integration into, the accounting system. And it's still like, there's still a lot of challenges there. There's still a lot of work. And then you multiply that by like a lot of businesses have multiple merchant accounts, right? It's a headache.
Yeah, I mean when you come to SaaS, so one more little SaaS rant for people
Yeah,
listening, right?
perfect.
So SaaS, huge company, what are they worth? $20 billion. Probably more after all the dust clears, but uh, they have this little dashboard for SaaS companies. It'll tell you your monthly recurring revenue. There's also a handful of other tools that sit on top of Stripe to try to give you more data about your business. So
Mhm.
2 years ago, we said, hey, maybe it's more than two, maybe it's 3 years ago. We said we're going to look at Stripe, we're going to look at Profitwell, we're going to look at Barometrics, we're going to look at. I mean, there's like five of these things. They all had different numbers that weren't even close to one another, right? And what we found out is like Stripe was actually not the most accurate one. Profit, because then we ripped it manually, and then we
Right.
added up, which is very tedious to do. And we said Profitwell actually beats Stripe at Stripe's own data. Like it's a hard problem.
Absolutely. It's super challenging, and it's super challenging when you aren't, um, receiving the funds directly. Like if you were trying to do that as like a profit well or as an add-on, it's actually really hard to make sense of that information because you're really at the behest of like
Yep.
Stripe or in many cases the big banks, which candidly just this isn't a focus for them.
Yep.
So there's lots of opportunity to be able to automate and save time.
Yeah, well, Yosef, this has been a real treat. I hope everybody goes and explores Relay and just kind of looks at the future of what I think business banking can be. This is not a paid endorsement. I just think it's a cool product in a big space going after really big competitors. And I think, as accounting firm owners, leaders, practitioners, partners, you should just know about the tech that's coming up in the space. So, Yosef, if somebody wants to learn a little bit more about this platform, about this tool, what's the best place for them to go?
Send us an email. Send me an email. yoseph@relayfi.com. We can set up time with one of the team and take you through the product. You can also check out our website, relayfi.com. We're pretty friendly, pretty nice. Email our support team if you'd like to be a little bit more, just, want to check things out, poke around.
Yeah, so this is what's really cool about this space, and I hope that the people that are listening to this interview. So two things: this is an atypical interview. So if you like stuff like this, let me know. Reply in the comments. Get a hold of us at Jetpack in some kind of way to say, hey, we want more interviews like this. And the other thing too, I mean, you're a co-founder. You're on the front lines. I mean, this is a brilliant opportunity to talk with somebody early on in the technology landscape about what they're building. So I really encourage people listening that care about this to reach out to you and connect with you. And again, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Thanks everyone for listening.